Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time you happen to be watching this. I hope everything is going well for you. Today, I want to spend a little time going over the research paper and dealing with some of the specifics of the paper itself, and also some examples about writing the paper using the data, using quotations, and hopefully, by the time we're done here, everything will be a little more clear than it was before, and you'll have some good ideas about how to use quotations, how to use data to prove your point. Let's begin with a few basics. I've given these before. Both of the paper assignment itself is posted on D2L and it's posted on Google Classroom. But very quickly, 5 to 6 pages, 4 to 10 different sources. You're arguing, you're making a point. You're not just giving me a bunch of information. The information you do give me should support your original analysis. All quoted and paraphrased material must be cited properly. You have to have a works cited page. That works cited page needs to be in MLA format. Your final paper is due February 8th, and you submit it to both Google Classroom and to Brightspace D2L. Let's get to a few things about the paper that I hope clarify things and make it easier for you to go on. A do and a do not. Number one, have a plan. You're supposed to have an hypothesis as you begin your research. That was part of your proposal. That hypothesis, after you do some research, should have a thesis. And you should have some reasons for supporting the thesis. Your research should get you to data, and that data ought to lend credence to the thesis and your reasons. But the most important thing in this paper is your explanations that show how the data support the thesis. As far as the do not, look, don't throw a bunch of crap against the wall and hope it sticks. What I am most afraid of is that people are going to take time, write some stuff, insert a long quotation, write some more stuff that may or may not have anything to do with the quotation, insert 2 more long quotations, hope Collis doesn't notice that you're winging it, and then go on from there. What's the thesis? What are the reasons to support your thesis? How does the data tie to those reasons? Why does the data tie to those reasons? That's what you ought to be doing. Let's take a look at a few other things. I want to spend some time here on using quotations and data, and hopefully that's going to clarify things and help you do the do and help you avoid the do not. The basics. Data doesn't exist as an end unto itself. Data is something that you use to prove a point, to illustrate a point. It doesn't exist as an end unto itself. What point does this prove? Why should anybody care about this? It's not a thing that you just toss in there. It needs to be something that you use to illustrate a big point. Don't let your audience guess at what the data is supposed to prove. Tell them, all right? And I think that that's going to be probably on the next slide or on the next thing here, right? Explain it to them. Don't let your audience guess. Don't assume they're going to come to the same conclusions. One of my favorite quotations from a movie ever. A person is smart, People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. And because of that, you can't assume they're going to come to the same conclusion you have. When I was a debate coach, I used to tell my debaters, don't let the judge think. I'm telling you the same thing. Don't let your readers think. Because a reader is an individual person who may or may not be smart. But as you go through this thing, some readers, in fact, many readers, are going to come to the wrong conclusions. Don't let them think. Explain it to them. You are going to tell them, this is what I believe. Here's the data that supports the belief. Here's how the data supports it. A big chunk of your paper is going to be explanation of how the data support your belief. The core of the argument, we're going to ignore the qualifiers. All right, we're going to look at the claim, which is the conclusion you have come to. We're going to look at the data, which is all of the evidence, and the warrant, which is going to explain how the data leads to the claim. The backing, explaining why the warrant has the authority, is a lot of times just going to be the fact that you have sources that come from academic Search Premier or EBSCO or places like that instead of just random Googling something. And we're not going to engage in the rebuttal right now. Claim, data, warrant. To those of you who've had me in class before, it's a new picture, even if it's the same sermon. So the basics, have a point. That's your claim. Explain how the quotation supports your point. That starts to get into the warrant. The quotations you use are the evidence and the data. And as I go through and continue the basics, one of the things I'm most worried about, one of the things I think that has become just a habit people get into is, I have a research paper, I'm going to find a long quotation, I'm going to stick the long quotation on the page, I may even take the time to format it properly, but for the most part, I'm just going to throw a long quotation on the page. I'll have a sentence of my own at the beginning, I'll have a sentence of my own at the end. Don't do that. Don't use long quotations. Don't string long quotations together. Let's take a look at a quick example. Here's my topic sentence. The code breakers lacked mentors and dealt with entrenched sexism. And then I go, math was not a subject. Women were encouraged to study, and certain parts of the country had no female math teachers at all. Monday 21. If they went out in public and were asked what they did, they were to say they emptied trash cans and sharpened pencils. Some would improvise their own answers, replying lightly that they sat on the laps of commanding officers. People readily believed them. For a young American woman, it was all too easy to convince an inquiring stranger that work she did was menial or that she existed as a plaything for the men she worked for. Almost everyone thought we were nothing but secretaries, one of the women would say years later. Monday 30. It was not easy being a smart girl in the 1940s. People thought you were annoying. Monday 30. I think within those quotations, there are plenty of examples of sexism. There are plenty of examples of women, being lacking role models. But there's no blending, there's no context for that. This model, I hope, works a little better. The code breakers lacked mentors and dealt with entrenched sexism. Same topic sentence. Breaking codes depends on math, but Mundy writes that women weren't urged to study math in the 1940s. Certain parts of the country had no female math teachers at all. Even if a woman chose to study math or demonstrate her intelligence in other ways, she risked being pursued as a smart girl in an era when people thought smart girls were annoying. Monday 30. I apologize for having a bit of a mix-up here. It will be corrected for class. More importantly, people believed women were best suited for menial work, or that a woman existed as a plaything for men she worked for. Monday 30. Liza Munday quotes an unnamed codebreaker who said almost everyone thought we were nothing but secretaries. What you need to be doing here is blending your short quotations in with the text. I apologize for my mistakes on the screen. Those of people in class will see it. And if you have questions, please ask. Your short quotations blended with text should be followed by explanations. Explain, 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 and then explain a bit more. Don't let your audience come to the conclusions. Make the conclusions fit. Format, help, and grading. Notice that if you have the name in the sentence, all you need is the page number. Notice that the quotation mark is here. At the end of the sentence, the period is after the page number. If the sentence doesn't have the author in it, then you need the author and page number right here. And again, I apologize for having some extra verbiage in here. It's a quick reminder. You need to proofread, and you need to do a better job of proofreading than I do. Remember the rubrics, internal citations with the MLA format. The works cited page uses the MLA format. All sources from 2018 or 2017 or later, ProQuest, Academic Search Premier. You've used the data to prove a point. You've explained what points it's supposed to make. You have the warrants. The ever-present expressing self rubric will also be part of this. We've gone over this a lot of times in class. Take a quick look. If you have trouble with the formatting, or if there are things where there's a corporate author, or there are some other things, Purdue OWL is a great source. If that doesn't have it, come and ask me. Also, we're working in the MLA style. All of these links will be attached to the document that gives you the assignment. Look here. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I hope this overview was a little bit helpful. I hope it gave you some ideas of what it was you needed to do. I hope everyone has a good day, and we'll talk to you in the next class period.